Hi guys, welcome back to Professional Tutoring. I've been asked to cover question 23 from a GCSE November 2012 paper. It's a non-calculator paper, and question 23 is asking you to find the distance between the lines P and D. Now there's four things that you have to know for this equation. Alright, the first thing that you have to know is that the equation of a straight line is always y equals mx plus c. Now in these sort of questions they will give you information. Your job is to ask yourself, why are they giving me this piece of information? For example, they're giving you that it's a square, so therefore all lengths will be equal. A is a point on the x-axis, right? P and D are points on the y-axis, but the main thing is PAB is a straight line. There's no need for them to tell you that, but they're telling you for a reason. The equation of the line that passes through the points A and D is y equals minus 2x plus 6. Again, vital for this question. It's necessary for this question, but why are they giving it to you? Well, there's four parts of this question that you have to know, or four bits of knowledge that you need. The first one is y equals mx plus c is an equation of a straight line. Okay, you have to know that for this particular question. The equation of a straight line is y equals mx plus c. M is your gradient, so how steep the line is, and c is where it cuts the y-axis. That's the first thing that you have to know. So where it cuts the y-axis, or you may see as intercepts the y-axis. Okay, so that's where it intercepts the y-axis, basically where it cuts. So from looking at this, you should be able to identify the point D. Okay, I don't want to tell you now, but the point D you should be able to identify. Just have that thinking going on in the back of your head. Right, the second point to this question, in order to complete it, is you have to know how to rearrange, or you have to know which coordinates to put in to find the x value. So if they're giving you y equals minus 2x plus 6, you should know that on the A point, what is the y coordinate? So your y-axis is here. So what is the y coordinate where point A is? So we should know that at least the y coordinate is 0. So if you're attempting this question, your basic algebra should be there. So if you're putting 0 here, equals minus 2x plus 6, you should be able to rearrange that to get x is equal to 3. Again, if you're struggling with these sort of equations, we'll do some basic videos on algebraic equations. Okay, so that's the second part of the equation you have to, second part of the question you have to know. The third bit of knowledge that you need to know is that the perpendicular lines, let's put this down, number 3, lines that are perpendicular to each other, so basically cross and make 90 degrees, the product of their gradient is always equal to minus 1. So please note that down, write it down in your books. The product of perpendicular line gradients is always equal to minus 1. So for example, if the gradient of this line is 4, I'm going to call this line M1, and I'm going to call this line M2. Now the product means multiply, so if I do 4 times M2, that's always going to give me minus 1. In order to find M2, I just rearrange it again, so my M2 value will be minus a quarter. Therefore the gradient of this line here of M2 is minus a quarter. So please make a note of that, otherwise you cannot attempt this question unless you use Pythagoras, which is another method in the mark scheme given. So the product of two perpendicular lines, the product of their gradients is always equal to minus 1. And lastly, what you need to know for this question is point number 4, is when I've got y equals mx plus c again, remember they have told you that there's a straight line. If y equals mx plus c, I have to know that my gradient, let's say if it is minus a quarter, my x value, if it's 3, if my y is equal to 0, I should be able to work out from here what c is. Okay, so feel free to pause the video. I'll quickly go through those points again. Number 1, you have to know that y equals mx plus c, m being your gradient, c being the y-intercept. Should give you a massive clue to find out what d coordinate is. Then you just put in the y value as 0, because over here my point is 0, and you should be able to work out the x value. Then perpendicular lines, the product of the gradients is always equal to minus 1. Now we've got the gradient for this line is -2. Okay, so that should give you a bit of a clue. And then lastly, put your values in. We've got x value, you will have a y value, and that should allow you to find out what c is. Remember, that's where c cuts the x-axis, sorry, the y-axis at this point here. So that will give you some help to find out what p is, and then you just add the two lengths together. Feel free to pause the video, and then we'll come back and attempt the question. Right. So in order to answer this question, now my first point is y equals mx plus c. So my equation, remember it's a 4-mark question, so my equation equals y equals minus 2x plus 6. So straight away my intercept at y is 6. So my point D over here will be 6, without even thinking about it. Point A, remember y value will be 0. So if I've got a 0 here, I'm trying to find out what my x is. So I'll take that 6 to the other side, that'll become minus 6. I'll look at minus 2x, and then divide that minus 6 by minus 2. That'll give me 3, and that will equal x. Okay, so 3 is the value of x on point A. Okay, so A is 3 now, my length here is 6. Now I have to work out my gradient. So the gradient, remember, they're giving the information PAB is a straight line. Therefore, the equation y equals mx plus c applies to this line here. So we have the gradient to its perpendicular line, which is here. Remember, it's forming 90 degrees. So the gradient of that line is minus 2. So I'll put down minus 2m is equal to minus 1. Again, if I solve that gradient for the other line, minus 1 divided by minus 2, which will give me a half. These two negatives cancel out. And then my last point, I have to find the intercept. So basically my y coordinate here, where it cuts the y-axis. So again, y equals mx plus c. I know that my gradient now is a half. I know that my x coordinate on this line is 3, and when it's 3, my y value is 0. So we can go down. Okay, so my y value is 0. I know my gradient is a half. My x value is 3. I don't know what c is. I can just multiply this out to work out c. So half times 3 is 3 over 2, which I know is 1.5 as a decimal. If you take this to the other side, it's going to become a negative. Remember, 3 over 2 is 1.5. That's minus 1.5 equals c. So if I go back to my line, this point here where it cuts the y-axis is minus 1.5. And if that's 6 and that's 1.5, I add the two together. And then my final answer is 7.5. So the main thing is, a lot of you will know the equation of a straight line equals y equals mx plus c. The main gaps in our knowledge will be the perpendicular lines. It's not that these questions aren't that common. So the perpendicular lines, remember the gradient of them is always the product of their gradients is always equal to minus 1. Okay, hope that helps. Attempt this question again without looking at the solution, and then watch the video again to find out where you're missing out on. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, please feel free to email me or leave comments. My email is info@protutor.co.uk, or you can leave a comment underneath this video. Thanks for watching.